I'm going to jump right into this topic. I'm really excited to bring this video to you because I feel like this is something that a lot of people deal with, that a lot of people sometimes struggle with in silence because it comes along with a lot of shame. It comes along with a lot of like self-doubt, a lot of back and forth. You're not really sure if what you're feeling is real. And even if you do feel like it's real, you still have a hard time relaying this to other people because you're not sure if they can relate to you. But rest assured, because the good news is we are all dealing with something. Now, it may not be the exact same sort of pain point, but it is something that everyone is dealing with on one level or another, or certainly has felt this emotion on one level or another. And so I wanted to talk today about the wound of feeling unloved, like that you cannot be loved, that no matter what you do, no matter what you accomplish, no matter how you look or what you wear, or what you drive, where you live, that you are not lovable. Now, I want to start by saying this, that number one, that is a false ideology. You are lovable. So if you don't take anything else from this video, just know that you are lovable, and that is not an opinion. That is not me being kind and generous. That is me stating a fact that you are lovable. You were created by your divine, your higher source, your higher power, whatever you want to call it. You were put here because you are worthy of love. That's period, point blank. I don't care what your childhood looked like. I don't care what your relationship with your father, your mother, your siblings, your ex, your friends. I don't care what any of those relationships look like or have been in the past. The truth of the matter is that you are lovable. That's one. The other thing that's important to keep in mind is that by telling yourself that you're unlovable, you are speaking that into yourself. And so you want to reverse that by doing some positive self-talk. If you can tell yourself that you're unlovable, then you can go ahead and do the opposite and tell yourself that you are lovable. Now, reality only exists in here. Like your reality exists in your mind, you create it, and you put that out into the world. That is my belief. Okay, that's a very postmodern constructivist take on approaching reality, but that is how I see reality. You are going to behave according to what you believe in your mind. And so if you are telling yourself that you are unlovable, trust me when I say that you are going out into the world and you are wearing that unlovable energy on you. You are wearing it like a coat. It is all on you. You are swallowed up in unlovable energy. Not because you are unlovable, but because you are wearing unlovable. You are telling yourself that you are unlovable. You are doing things that are unlovable, for lack of a better term, but you are not allowing yourself to be seen as a person, as a woman, as a man, as a child who has the ability to be loved, who is able to create a place for somebody to come in and love you, because you are sending off energy that is saying, stay away from me, I don't deserve love, I can't be loved, you don't trust me, you don't want no parts of this. People can read that. People can read that. And I'm saying this from a place of pure experience. And it's something that I still struggle with here and there. But for the most part, I have gotten such a good grip on what it is and what was going on in my mind, what was going on in my body, and how I wasn't aligning myself with my true nature, which is a lovable person, a kind person, a fun person, a smart person. Like I was all of these things. I am all of these things, but the only thing that I could see at one point was that I was unlovable. That was what I was living in. I was living in a state of feeling unloved, not because there wasn't any love around me, but because I could not receive the love, because I felt like I wasn't worthy of being loved. Being unlovable is not a fact. It's not a case for anyone. And I will go so far as to say, like, I don't care what you've done. And I have very strong beliefs against certain things and strong beliefs for certain things. But all of that aside, I feel like I don't have a heaven or a hell to put anyone in. And I think that staying in a state of feeling unloved is a state of hell. You wake up, you're waking up every day, you're not feeling like you are worthy of the life that you have, of the breath that is in your body. That is a personal hell to me. And I think that is something that we have to work on by addressing the most uncomfortable parts of ourselves, the most uncomfortable and unsavory parts of our past. And I don't always mean childhood when I say past. Sometimes your past is not even going back that far. Of course, that's part of it, but sometimes you might just feel unlovable because of how you've done people, how you treated people in the past. Like, I've always been a person who allows people to just be themselves, and that is on me. I know I have been judgmental in the past, and so because I feel like I've been so judgmental in the past, when I come around people, when I'm meeting new people in this new state of mind, I was still carrying some of that stuff, saying, oh well, like, of course they're not gonna love me, because they're not going to accept me because of what I did, because of how I was. And I want you to know that right now, that you can free yourself from that. You can liberate yourself from these thought patterns, from this incarcerated mindset, from this jail of your own making. You can release yourself from that. Just like you were the one who captivated yourself, you are the very one who can release yourself from these same thought prisons. And one way to do that is simply by forgiving yourself. You can forgive yourself, you can do better, you can be better, because you can make the choice to do so. So much of this is simply based on choice. Just like you had a choice in saying that you are unlovable, you have a choice in freeing yourself from that. And by telling yourself that you are lovable, by forgiving yourself for the wrongs that you've done, by being kind to yourself, by saying to yourself, like, sometimes I was just reactive, and sometimes I was doing what I had to do to survive. Sometimes I was saying those things because I was so hurt. And so you have to just say that to yourself. That's okay. It's okay to say, I was the one who was wrong there in that situation, but I'm not wrong. I'm not altogether wrong for existing. I don't not deserve love because I did some wrongs in the past. All right, so that's one thing. Looking at your past and saying, what is it that caused this? Because you have to get to the root of a thing. And that's just the fact. That's the hard work that nobody wants to do, that nobody wants to accept. But when it comes to really evolving, when it comes to really doing that thing that's going to get you over that hump that you've been trying to get up for 10, 15, 20 years, when it comes to that, you have to get to the root of it. Or the alternative is, you can just keep carrying that luggage. You can keep carrying that baggage. You can keep making that same mistake. You can keep being on that hamster cycle. You can just keep going round and round and round. You can keep doing it. Trust me when I say, if you don't do the work now, then you're going to have to do the work later. I say go ahead and get a jump on it and do the work now. Get to the core of it now. I personally know older women. I'm talking 70, 60 and up, 50 and up, who are still dealing with wounds from their childhood, who still have not addressed these things that are really killing them slowly. The things that are in the way of themselves and their relationships with children, with their siblings, with friends, with romantic relationships still. So you have people who still are not addressing the very cause of what is causing them to behave in a way. They don't even know the root of their behavior. Right? So in a lot of ways, they're walking around absent-minded. They're not really even sure why they chose that person, and then why they chose another person like that person, and why the third person is like the other two. They don't know why, because they have not done the root work. And so you have to do the root work. You have to say, this is uncomfortable. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It must be uncomfortable. If it's comfortable and you all good, it's not really the work. And I don't mean to say all of it is a struggle. It's not. But there are some really, really hard parts where you get dirt in your fingers, where you are walking around a mess. But it does not matter, because you know that you are in a place of healing. You are in a place of getting on. You are in a place of where you're saying, I never want to go back there. And what do I have to do to make sure I never go back there? You are in that place right now. And because you're in that place, it's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to feel comfortable, but it is worth it. It is worth it. Just think that if you are doing the work now, 5 years from now, when you are coming across these feelings of feeling unlovable, you are not going to have to go right back to zero. You're not going to be back at ground zero because you're already going to have all these tools. You're going to be equipped with all this knowledge of self to where you can resort to what you know. You can go back to the work that you did. So you don't have to completely crumble. You don't have to start at zero. You don't have to go back to relationships that destroy you because your self-esteem is destroyed, because your self-worth is destroyed, because you valued yourself as zero and unlovable. You don't have to go back there. You don't have to go back that far. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not always about starting over. And I think when you are in a place when you come from scarcity, a mindset of scarcity, and even a place of poverty, when you are coming from those mindsets, sometimes you think struggle is so it's just part of it. It's just part of the package. You struggle, you fall, you get back up, but then you fall again. But you don't have to keep falling. You don't have to keep. It does not have to be. You can learn ways to break your fall. You do not have to fall. I know you've been seeing people fall time and time again, and those are the people you look up to. Those are people in your circle. Those are your role models. That's just what it is. Where you from? That's just what we do, right? You fall again, you keep struggling. But that is not the case. So much of that is because people have not done the root work. They refuse to be in a place where of being uncomfortable. And I don't want that for you. I didn't want that for me anymore. And so I made a lot of changes. And I'm talking about it takes sacrifice. All right. So we're moving on. We did the looking back at ourselves. We're doing the root work. And now we're moving on to talking about exactly what that takes when you are in that place of needing that change. And this is not just another moment of, oh, I'm feeling a little bit like this, I'm feeling kind of like that. I'm talking about you are really in that place where you know you have to make that change. It comes with sacrifice. That's just the bottom line. You have to sacrifice a lot of those relationships that have been very comfortable that you've been leaning on. You have to sacrifice some of those relationships. I know personally I had to get away from a lot of relationships that no longer, that it's not that they were no longer serving me. It's the fact that I could have stayed then. I could have stayed right there in them. That's just the truth. I could have stayed right where I was at. It would have been very comfortable in terms of familiarity. It would have been very uncomfortably on a spiritual level, on a level of like mental growth. I couldn't grow there, but at least I could stay. At least I could stay there. At least I could say, oh, like I have people. But I was ready to move past that. I needed to move past that. And there was no way that I could reconcile this change with what I have been doing in these relationships, how I've been allowing these relationships to be a part of my life in a way that was detrimental for the most part. I had to sacrifice, and I just had to sacrifice some family relationships. It was not easy. It was not easy. And to this day, it's not easy, but with a lot of time and distance comes clarity. And when I was starting to get this clarity, I was just like, oh, well, yeah, of course I had to make that move. It was almost like, duh, I had to make that move. It was as if I had spent years and years trying to move forward, trying to excel, but I was still holding on to a lot of these relationships, and they were working in opposition of each other. I could not do both. I couldn't do both. And so I had to choose me. And that's one of the hardest things to do, is to choose you. So moving on, you want to make sure that your choice is you. You must choose you. If you don't choose yourself, no one else is going to choose you. Every day you have to tell yourself you are worthy of living a life that is full, that is full of love, that you are capable of both giving and receiving love, that you are worthy of commitment. You have to tell yourself that. You have to feed yourself good thoughts. You have to feed yourself good food. Listen, there is distraction everywhere. There is so much noise going on out there, so much noise going on in here, so much noise going on in here. It's so much going on, right? But you have to be the one who is in control of you. Despite what's going on out there and what's going on in your head and all these thoughts, you are in control of that. Though that is what you can control. And let me tell you, it's such a relief. You're going to feel relieved once you understand that you are the only one in control of you. You're not going to feel like, oh man, I'm letting the world down. No, trust me, the world is going on just fine without you. That's a hard truth, right? The world is going on without you. So you might as well, since you're choosing life, since you are choosing yourself, since you are doing the root work, since you are making the sacrifices, do not half-ass it. Go all the way and control your environment while also understanding that you have to surrender when you need to surrender. But the things that you feed your body, the things that you feed your mind, like the things that you feed in your floodgates, things that you're letting into your floodgates, that is what you can control. You can't control how people are going to approach you, but you can definitely most certainly control what you choose to give those people, those interactions. And so I'm here to tell you that that unlovable wound is not something that you need to secretly hold on to in shame. In fact, the unlovable wounds, kryptonite, is being out in the open. It can't survive out in the open. It thrives on shame. Its sustenance is shame and darkness and guilt. It wants that part of you. But if you want to free yourself, I'm all about that liberation. I'm all about freeing yourself from these things that try to absolutely take you down, especially those things that have been holding on to you since childhood, since you were just a little girl, since you were a little boy. These things have been on you and you've been feeling like, am I cursed? What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you, okay? We are all dealing with something. I want you to understand that as another takeaway, that we are all dealing with something. I don't care if it's the prettiest person, the richest person, the most fit person, the most well-to-do person, the person with the most friends. I don't care who it is. Everybody is struggling with something. I don't care who it is. I want you to understand that nobody is going through this life 100% burden-free, 100% wound-free. We are carrying something. But the key is to overcome it. And overcoming is not always a struggle, yet it's not always a smooth ride either. And so when you dealing with the highs and lows of this unlovable wound, just know that it's just that. It's just a high and it's just a low. But with a lot of work, those lows can decrease and decrease and decrease until you realize you're not even having a bad day, until you realize just how blessed and fruitful and abundant and lovable you are. You are so lovable. You are so worth it. The commitment, you're worth the loyalty, you're worth the attachment, you are worth loving. So don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing some more videos, mostly on things like of this nature, narrative therapy, things that's going to help y'all free yourselves from these thought patterns and these thought prisons, as I like to call them. So tune back in. Until next time.